Sometimes an incredible script can be forgotten behind a silicone face. Welcome to Beyond the Screen, I'm Nate, and these are the top 10 celebrity plastic surgery fails that destroyed a movie. Number 10. Zac Efron in Baywatch. Acknowledging his appearance changed in recent years, Efron explained that his looks changed after he fell over at his home and he broke his jaw in November of 2013, making his face and jaw muscles have to work extra hard. According to Zac, he was seeing a physical therapist to help him recover from this, but he briefly stopped while he was in Australia, where he taped 2 seasons of his Netflix series Down to Earth. It wasn't until 2017's Baywatch that fans really noticed the physical changes that Zac was going through. He was already a very muscular man. He claims to have starved and dehydrated himself for the shoot to appear more toned up. And on top of that, this was around the same time that his jaw started to reset itself, being noticeably stiff throughout the feature. His jaw is now more pronounced and it gives him like a more square but muscular face, almost appearing swollen sometimes. The look was only a third of the reason that fans hated this movie. It was also because of the terrible script and performances from its cast. Seriously, Dwayne Johnson, come on. Number 9. Sylvester Stallone in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Now, Sylvester Stallone's face is distracting in general. Ever since Rocky, this dude has looked like he's slowly been melting for 20 years, until suddenly a new face emerged. The fun thing with Sylvester is, depending on what movie you've seen between 2010 and now, depends on what you may have gotten in terms of face altogether. Around the Expendables, fans started to notice some subtle changes in his face. The cheeks were a little bit more prominent, he seemed to have more pronounced jaw, but the closer to the final Rambo movie we got, the more that he began to resemble his Rocky days. But most recently in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, it seems that someone took a drywall scraper and just slowly flattened his face. His eyebrows also look more pronounced, almost like they're the Nike swoosh. And while the overall film is not a flop, the scenes with Sylvester in them were universally agreed to be unnecessary and distracting to the overall project. Number 8. Mickey Rourke in Wild Orchid. Back in his early days in Hollywood, Rourke was known as one of the prettiest boys in town. He was often compared to the likes of Marlon Brando and James Dean. However, that reputation did not last long. Throughout the 1980s, the diner actor would always talk about his issues with fame and how he hated the industry. So, throughout the early 90s, Mickey slowly started getting into the world of professional boxing as an escape. This was the main cause for so much of his misshapen face. According to Mickey himself, he had slowly been dismantled by the sport, breaking his nose twice, snapping his cheekbone, and damaging his ribs and toes. Needless to say, a professional doctor advised him to hang up the gloves before it did too much damage, but unfortunately that damage was already done. In his 1990 film Wild Orchid, the actor's cheeks were visibly swollen and he just looked so different. Later in 2009, he admitted that these changes were indeed due to botched plastic surgery, as a lot of people speculated. Whether it was the bad acting or the bad surgery, the movie tanked at the box office and it currently sits at a 9% on Rotten Tomatoes. Since then, Mickey has gone under again for corrective surgery, but he still looks like a clay model of his former self. Number 7. Nicole Kidman in Bewitched. Nicole has been around for a while in the world of Hollywood, starring in everything from superhero movies like Batman Forever to the film on this list, 2005's Bewitched. The film was based around a TV series of the same name and featured Kidman as the lead and Will Ferrell as her co-star. The film was okay, it's fun for some, but for critics, it was a rough ride. One thing many fans noticed right away was that her cheeks looked suspiciously round. Like throughout the movie, the audience was left wondering what was happening to Nicole's face. Over the years, it has been speculated that she's gotten some kind of work done, but it was never actually confirmed. But just taking one look at a side-by-side proves that something has been done. Her cheeks look fuller, her face seems lifted, and there's a lot going on upstairs. This film was just the first of many to leave fans pondering what Nicole had been doing, and it did not stop there. The closer to 2020 we got, the more she appeared to have done, becoming nearly unrecognizable in her role in Bombshell. Number 6. John Travolta in Wild Hogs. John Travolta is a renowned actor who's been around for decades and's probably starred in at least one of your top 10 movies. However, the iconic Pulp Fiction actor surprised fans with what looks like the aftermath of botchy plastic surgery in 2007's Wild Hogs. Fans were convinced that John had some work done in his face and it had gone horribly wrong. Comparing his face to the Grease lightning star that we all know and loved, there are just noticeable differences under his eyes and around his jaw. He now had more of a square face with unnaturally straight bone structure that he most certainly did not have when he met Sandy. Of course, getting Botox, fillers, fillers, or even plastic surgery as a quick fix to hide the inevitable signs of aging is not that big of a deal in Hollywood, but Mr. Travolta might have just stepped into the wrong surgeon's office, as fans were shocked and critical about his new look. The film overall was just a little bit strange, but it had a nice premise. It featured some pretty stellar comedic actors like Tim Allen and Martin Lawrence and Ray Liotta. They played a wannabe crew of bikers who get more than they bargained for when they run into actual gang members. It sounds fun, but the entire film is derailed by the distracting face of John Travolta. Seriously, this dude went from greased lightning to being struck by lightning. Number 5. Helen Hunt in I See You. From Mad About You and What Women Want to Twister, there is no denying that Helen Hunt has been a tour de force on screens big and small for decades. In fact, she got her start as a child actor in the 70s. A lifetime in the spotlight means fans will always be curious about every aspect of your life. Considering the pressure to remain youthful in Hollywood, many fans wondered if Helen Hunt ever decided to get plastic surgery. Well, 2019 was a big year for Helen. She had several movies coming out and had just directed an episode of The Politician. However, the main draw of that year was her role in the horror movie I See You, with many fans claiming that the film was unwatchable simply due to her facelift. It seemed like someone was trying to CGI out all the age on her face, but it ended up looking just strange, weird. The negative online comments caused many fans to skip this one and wait for the home release. Who am I kidding? They torrented it. Number 4. Tara Reid in American Pie Reunion. Tara has starred in several comedy flicks over the years, but they tend to stick to the same category: schlocky and cheap, which are still fun. Being a part of movies like Van Wilder, Sharknado, and of course the American Pie series. While she seemed to be on the rise, rumors of a serious attitude on set were slowly bringing her less and less roles, and a wardrobe malfunction at a party for P. Diddy in 2004, in which one part of her chest was visible for all the world to see, well, that didn't help either. She had clearly gotten some work done, which was obvious thanks to a certain body part being in the shape of a square and not a circle like it should be. She had also received many physical alterations to her face and stomach, with the latter being botched so horribly to the point where Tara had a hernia that prevented her from being able to work without a shirt on, which was apparently a big part of her career. When the gang got back together for the reunion, fans were curious to see where the film would take the crew and if it may be the first of many more American Pie movies. Unfortunately, the script combined with the distracting physical changes to one of its main cast members caused fans to peg this flick as a must-forget. Number 3. Jeremy Piven in Smokin' Aces. The Entourage star has not always been some cool guy in a suit. He's been a wide range of characters, from a bald store clerk to a villain in Spy Kids 4. This man is versatile, and so is his hair. In one of Jeremy's first acting gigs in Singles from 1992, he's very obviously missing the top of his head. His hair is slowly thinning, but is very clearly on its way out. Okay, so cut to the first season of Entourage, where his hair suddenly began to grow back. And by the time the 2006 movie Smokin' Aces came along, Jeremy had long hair. He looked like he was in a boy band that partied just a little bit too hard. This was a very distracting moment in the world of Hollywood and is a part of the reason that this movie tanked. It could be that, or it could be the terrible performances given by Piven, especially when you compare it to his co-stars like Ryan Reynolds and Ben Affleck, but who knows. It seems that the closer to 2020 we got, the more hair this dude had. He claims to have received hair transplant surgery, which was difficult to hide as he was bald one day and Elvis Presley the next. Number 2. Portia De Rossi, Arrested Development. While this may not be a film entry, how about the fact that she messed up a whole season of television just with her face? In fact, it had changed so much that her character was slowly written out of the series. The popular series returned after 7 years of rest, releasing an entire season, 15 episodes worth, all at once on Netflix. Now this is how the running joke heavy sitcom was really meant to be watched, all in one sitting over and over again at the viewer's own leisure. But it seemed that all the Twitter sphere could talk about was actress Portia De Rossi's face. De Rossi, who plays the vapid, self-centered, clueless Lindsay Bluth Fuquet in the series, had apparently gotten some work done as a side-by-side of season 1 to season 4 shows vastly different faces. Several plastic surgeons gave their take on the possible changes and agreed that it was very obvious that she had had some work done. They report that she received a nasal tip reconstruction and Botox injections. Yeah, you don't need to be a plastic surgeon to see that one. Unfortunately for the show, show, that 4th season was not well received, and one of the many issues that fans seemed to have was the little to no explanation on why Lindsay looked like that. And at number 1, Kim Basinger in The Burning Plain. Kim was a rising star in the 1980s, being featured in rom-coms, action movies, dramatic pieces, each one just a little bit better than it would have been without her. Towards the end of the 1990s, she was still maintaining a steady career, but as we entered the new millennium, many were noticing several changes to her face. By the time The Burning Plain came out, it was obvious what was going on. Her cheeks were noticeably larger, leaving her with deep ridges. Her face was also suspiciously wrinkle-free, which made the changes even more obvious. Between the Botox, the facelift, and who knows what else, her role in the film was bogged down by the unrecognizable face of Miss Kim Basinger. Despite boasting a great cast with Jennifer Lawrence and Charlize Theron, the film tanked, and no one could take it seriously. And those are the plastic surgery malfunctions that derailed a show or movie. Did we miss any good ones? Well, let us know in the comments below. As always, leave a like if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more content. Thanks for stopping beyond the screen, and we'll see you next time.